G'day guys, Cal here, welcome to this video. Today I will be going through 10 underrated jazz albums that you may not have heard. You may have heard them actually, but what I'm looking for here is more of an esoteric approach to it. When I went and did a search on YouTube for good jazz albums, a lot of the algorithm gave me the best jazz albums of all time, or it gave me, this is the jazz starter pack, these are the ones that you need to get, these are the essential ones that you must own on vinyl, etc, etc. And a lot of the same titles did keep popping up, like Kind of Blue, Live at the Village Vanguard, Mingus Aham, Bitches Brew, stuff like that. And all of those albums are brilliant. Okay, I've talked about those on the channel before, and nothing wrong with any of those albums. But if you have gone past the first layer of the jazz iceberg and you're going through that genre, there are other bits and pieces that are really worth looking at. And I want to bring this video to you today to show you some of those. And I've got 10 here. They're not ranked in any particular order. The first one I've got here is one of the great bass players, one of the great innovators of jazz bass, and that is Jaco Pastorius. Jaco Pastorius, brilliant jazz bassist, very intuitive, spiritual, virtuoso. A lot of people know the self-titled album, and that is a classic. But Word of Mouth is also a very good album. It's got Crisis, Three Views of the Secret, the epic Liberty City, and epic closing track, John and Mary. And this is a Warner Brothers Masters reissue. And if we look on the lineup, we have a superstar lineup here. Okay, we've got Chuck Findlay, Michael Brecker, Arnie Eggleston, Herbert Jeffrey Hancock, Hubert Laws, Tom Scott, Wayne Shorter, Jack DeJohnette, the legendary drummer, and John Clark. And it's a phenomenal album. Pastorius was such a great, as well as improviser, he was a great composer as well. And he brings influences from classical music as well, with the Chromatic Fantasy, which is a Johann Sebastian Bach composition, and he does stuff with it that's absolutely breathtaking. And it's 1981. He would sadly pass away, I think, in the early 90s, I think 1991. There is it on the back, actually. At a piano, just working some stuff out. And I think if you are a fan of sort of fusion era jazz, I think this is quite good. This is a little bit before the fusion musicians moved on to the DX7s and the 80s synthy stuff that is quite polarizing. It's just before that, so it's still quite tasteful in production style as well. The next guy I've got is in the same camp as some of the unfashionable guys in jazz. And I'm not really talking Kenny G. He's not quite in that sort of camp, but he's in the sort of, he's a nice player, makes very good tunes, very consistently good. A bit like Oscar Peterson or someone like Johnny Hodges, or in that same sort of realm, and that's Maynard Ferguson. And he gets looked down upon unfairly, I think, a lot of the time, because he does do commercial out. His music is commercial, and for a guy that was just doing it for a long time, some of his 70s output is brilliant. And I've got this one here, which is Conquistador. And this album is great. It's got Gonna Fly Now, Mr. Mellow, It's got the theme from Star Trek, so his interpretation of that is really interesting. Obviously, you've got the Conquistador, Soar Like an Eagle, and the Flyer. There is on the back. This guy just oozes fun. It's always fun. He adopts different genres into his stuff, and it is like a sort of a funky big band sound that he goes for with a lot of his recordings, but especially these ones during the 70s, and I think it's worth listening to if you like that sort of thing. This is where someone from the prog rock canon comes into jazz, and he has a trio band that plays pretty straight post-bop, I guess. And that's Christian Vander Trio. Now, Christian Vander was in the famous prog band Magma in the 70s. But I think he was jazz trained. And on here, we've got the trio of course, Christian Vander. But then we've got Emmanuel Borgi and Philippe Dadel. I hope I've said that right. And what you have here is you've got 4 sort of long-playing tracks. They're all in the vein of a John Coltrane style sound. So you think sheets of sound, atonality, fierce playing. It's really fierce playing, and the originals on here, Day After Day, which is the first track, is unbelievable. The musicianship on this is amazing. Dear Mac, which is I can't remember. It's very hard to see. Very hard to see the composer name on here. I can't see that. But then you've got Chim Chim Cheree and Like Sunny, which is the Coltrane composition on here. And I picked this up, and it was recorded in the late 80s, but it's all acoustic. There's no synthesizers on it or any like digital synths or anything like that, so it's pretty straightforward. 7th Avenue, it's a label I don't know anything about, but it's absolutely brilliant. And I got introduced to this guy by a friend of mine called Milan, who is a record collector in Perth. He had a lot of knowledge about 70s jazz and got me into a lot of the loft scene in New York. And he sold me this, which is Frank Lowe, the Flam. Frank Lowe, around in the 70s, tenor sax player. Really, really, really cool, tight band. So the lineup on this is Frank Lowe, of course, tenor sax. Joseph Bowie, trombone. Leo Smith, trumpet, flugelhorn, wood flute. Alex Blake, bass and electric bass. And Charles Bobo Shaw, who's a phenomenal drummer on the drums there. The compositions are split up, so everybody's sort of have a hand in compositions here, and it's not there's a certain freeness to it, and it's angular, but it's still accessible. And he's quite good, and I got some of the other stuff, but this was the first one. This was the first one that I got of his. And it's absolutely brilliant. And not enough people talk about Frank Lowe, but you should really get on him, because he's probably one of those undiscovered gems of players that, you'd be like, how have I been missing this my whole life? The next one I've got is I'm getting into some ECM territory here, I think. I am, yes. And that is Illusion Suite by Stanley Cowell Trio. Okay. So this is 1973. You've got Stanley Cowell, piano, Stanley Clarke, bass, Jimmy Hobbs, drums. Trio. Trio is a great band setting. When you pare down the instruments to basically a rhythm section plus that piano, it can be so dynamic, and they're able to capture something really good on this. Again, it's an ECM album, but it's a bit left of centre for a usual ECM release. being an early 70s one, yeah, it's really good. Recorded at Sound Ideas in New York, 1972. But it's great. Again, there's a lot of spirituality in here, so the remnants of the Coltrane spiritual ideologies is evident on this. I was watching Andy Edwards. Andy Edwards, I get a lot of recommendations of his videos. He's brilliant because he has a wealth of knowledge in jazz. And not only does he have a wealth of knowledge in jazz, he has a wealth of knowledge in jazz in the aspects of jazz that are holes in my knowledge, you know. And 80s jazz, he champions 80s British jazz quite a bit, and I've gotten a lot of good recommendations. And I ended up picking up this one years ago, but it's Ian Bellamy, Balloon Man, with Django Bates, Steve Watts, Martin France. Editions E.G. Jazz on that one there. It's great. It's absolutely great. Ian Bellamy was able to make straight jazz in an era where I think that there was this reclamation that was happening where we wanted to go back to acoustic sounds. He's associated with the band Loose Tubes, so that's where you'll know him from. Yeah, he's a great saxophonist. In the early 80s, he was, you know, he started the partnership with Django Bates, and he just kept touring Europe, and yeah, he went all around the world. But the blurb on the back explains quite a lot about him. But it was recorded in Cornwall in December 88. He does mix it up. He's soprano, alto and tenor, so he does a bit of everything on here. And even though he does switch between the three, he still has an unmistakable sound, which is just a testament to his talent. Yeah, Balloon Man, Ian Bellamy, led by Lee Konitz, Paul Bley and Bill Connors, and this is called Pyramid. As a 1977, yep, Electric Ladyland Studios is where this was. Brilliant. You've got Pyramid as the opening track. The long track Out There is great. And then on side 2, the last track is called Play Blue, which is basically the closing track on this. It's about a 9-minute track. There's unbelievable improvisation on this, but it doesn't ever really go into free territory. So it's not really that atonal, but the playing is pretty fiery on it. It's really, really, really good. People don't talk enough about Lee Konitz. Get on to Lee Konitz. Japanese releases. Japanese only releases, right? Japan get exclusive releases for lots of things. Records, books, CDs, manga, anime, whatever. And this one here, I didn't know anything about until Teddy, who's on another YouTube channel, and I think it's called Eat Sleep Vinyl, went through a bunch of stuff, and he talked about this Max Roach Quartet release, Nomo. For the longest time I was looking for it. It was only available on vinyl because it had not had a digital release, a CD release, or any sort of streaming release for the longest time. And as soon as I found some extra money to get it, I bit the bullet and I bought it for about $80 Australian. So I ended up getting this. And the lineup is a cracker lineup. So we've got Cecil Bridgewater, trumpet, Billy Harper, brilliant tenor saxophonist, Reggie Workman, and of course Max Roach. And it's just Nomo Part 1 and Part 2. Okay. And on on the back here, it says, in African philosophy there exists a life force known as Nomo, sanctifying itself with discipline and clarity. Nomo is the word, the wisdom of the universe, and it is the responsibility of those who have no fear of being possessed by its magic to transmit its message to the world. When the Max Roach Quartet recorded for Swish Radio in October 1976, that Nomo of ancient ritual came to life. Reggie Workman's bark stripping bass line ceremoniously opening the way to Cecil Bridgewater one of the truly original trumpet voices of the day. I'm not going to go through the rest of it. This is okay. But yes, what we're talking here is African American music, ritualistic music, music where they're playing out of body, so they're experiencing out of body sensations because they have been taken to a different place. It's almost transcendental. Max Roach understood these sort of ideas, and that came into his music, especially during the 70s, and this is absolutely brilliant. It's just intense, absolutely intense playing. These people are at the top of their game, and let's just hope it just gets a wider release at some stage, or gets some sort of reissue outside of Japan, because it's brilliant. We're getting into something that might be maligned, mainly just not because of the player or the artist, but because of the time it came out, and that's Jean-Luc Ponty, Open Mind. Now, this is a 1984 release, okay, and it's got everything that you're going to assume about it is true. It is 1984, okay, it is all originals, but we have lots of synthesizers on this. The reason why this is great isn't really because of the fact that it's got lots of MN synthesis on it, but, you know, it's Jean-Luc Ponty, okay, Chick Corea rocks up on a couple of tracks. Casey Sherrill on Watching Birds, that's a great track. Modern Time Blues, okay, George Benson has a solo on it that's great, brilliant. And we're talking 1984 George Benson, but he's playing like it's 1974, you know. He's putting out hit records, but he's still got time to go into the studio with Jean-Luc and lay down something that's just brilliant. Rayford Griffin on percussion for Orbital Encounters, and then he's just on his own for the last track, Intuition. It's been mixed on a 2-track digital machine, so they've got all the bells and whistles on this, but this is really good, okay? This is really good. I really like it. I don't think people like this at all. Yeah, I don't think that this is an album that people like. It's impenetrable, unlistenable, ill-conceived, a total nightmare. All these things have been put on it, but it's embraced by Mary Lou Williams and Cecil Taylor, okay? Now, the blurb is a concert of new music for 2 pianos exploring the history of jazz with love. Okay, it's put out on Pablo. Excuse me. So 1977, we have Mary Lou Williams, jazz pianist, brilliant. And then we pair him up with Cecil Taylor, you know, one of the greatest jazz pianists ever, one of the greatest improvisers, best innovators. And you put those two together and it's quite disparate because they're two different styles. And it goes all over the place, okay? So it's a pianos at the same time being recorded at the same time doing... Mary Lou Williams comes from a more straight ahead, straight additional background, and Cecil Taylor comes from a more avant-garde free jazz, okay? Cecil Taylor goes beyond the form of the piano and transcends the piano, really. And you put these two together and what you have is it's chaotic. It's absolutely chaotic. But what ends up happening is they're both playing at the same time, and then every now and then what happens is they come together and something actually happens for about 20 or 30 seconds and they come together harmoniously, and then it drifts out of that and it becomes a tonal again, because by the very nature of how it was recorded, you're getting these polyrhythms, which is, I don't know whether it's intentional or unintentional. I mean, there's comprehensive notes in here about both of the artists, but it only really explains the ethos of each artist. You know, Mary Lou Williams really invested in music of, you know, ragtime. She was there earlier, right? She was a lot older. She's a lot older than Cecil Taylor. So Cecil Taylor had still been around for a while, but Mary Lou Williams had been around for a long time in jazz up until that point. And as she went through, you know, Kansas City swing, and then there was, you know, traversing the era of bebop, and then, you know, doing stuff in modern jazz, associated with like Bud Powell, Thelonious Monk, and then later on there'd be, Art Blakey, Kenny Dorham, all this sort of stuff. And while she was known as an experimental player, the pairing of her and Cecil Taylor still feels weird to me, and probably weird to a lot of other people. And in concept, a lot of people would have probably gone, yes, okay, look, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer, pairing these two together. But for whatever reason, and maybe it's the way that they decided to record it, it is an unintentional mess, but a mess I want to go back to all the time. I think it's really good. But it's hard work. It is hard work, okay? It's not... You're not going to get an easy listen, but if you like polyrhythms and you like atonality, and you're a fan of Cecil Taylor, I think you will like this. I think there's something to go back to here. So there we go. Hopefully there's some new ones that you can listen to, that you'll get something out of, because my hope is that I can just bring some different titles. They're not the same 4 or 5 titles getting spoken about all the time, as good as those albums are. So let us know about any hidden gems that you have. I'm really interested to know stuff that doesn't get talked about a lot. Drop it in the comments, and subscribe to the channel if you like this content. And I'll see you in the next one.